with no contract. And you see, I already had a contract with the federal government to keep some of their prisoners in my jail. It was contractual agreement. How is it then that the BATF and Congress can come in and say, Sheriff, you're going to do this because we said so, and if you don't comply with the Brady Bill, we're going to arrest you. First time in American history where that exists. Now you can read all about that case in this little booklet called The Victory for State Sovereignty. It is, as Kevin said, I am the only sheriff in American history to sue the federal government, take it all the way to the Supreme Court, and win. Now, if he's right, 6 other sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit, but I started the whole thing. A small town sheriff in southern Arizona. The NRA named me Law Enforcement Officer of the Year, inducted me in the NRA Hall of Fame, and there was a connection very strongly with the NRA, and I wasn't even a member of the NRA. See, what happened is I'm trying to figure out how I can sue the BATF and sue the federal government to get out from underneath this threat of being arrested, because I'm not going to do it. I'm telling all of you right now, I was not going to obey the federal government and enforce one iota of this stupid unconstitutional bill. Why was it unconstitutional? One, it was gun control. Gun control in the United States of America is against the law. That's what the Second Amendment means. No, they do not get to regulate your Second Amendment rights. These are unalienable rights. They're guaranteed as soon as you're born. If they take away the Second Amendment, you still have that right because it was God-given. You got it when you were born. Man cannot take away your God-given rights. I will not enforce gun control laws. Do you hear me? And there's no sheriff and there's no cop in this country that should. And that means state permits. They violate the Second Amendment. They violate the Florida Constitution. I'm not going to do either one. Why? Because I swore an oath in God's name that I would uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state where I work. How could I go along with stupid politicians and say, oh yeah, I'll do whatever you tell me? What happens to my oath if I do that? Second, the federal government cannot tell your sheriff what to do. Did you know that? The President of the United States cannot tell your sheriff what to do. He's not your sheriff's boss. Who's your sheriff's boss? We are. You are. That's the only boss the sheriff has, are the citizens. We, the people. First 3 words of the Constitution. Amazing. So, I keep these 2 little pocket things with me everywhere I go, and the pocket Constitution. And this you absolutely need to read because you will be flabbergasted. Now I'm going to show you some of it up on the board, up on the TV screen here in just a minute. But I just wanted to give you that background because when I left that meeting, when the BATF came to our meeting in January 21st of 1994, I know I looked too young to be sheriff way back then, but I was the youngest sheriff in the state, and thank you very much. And I'm ready, I'm going to sue these guys, but I didn't know how, and I knew my wife wasn't going to let me. So I said, oh yeah, I'm going to walk in the house from a 1.5-day meeting in Phoenix and come back home and go, hey, guess what, honey, I'm going to sue the Clinton administration. Yeah, right, go golfing and shut up. You know? I thought that's what she's going to say. And she actually said, I don't understand what you're talking about, but I understand you. And maybe now we know why you were meant to be sheriff. Because it was a real miracle that I ever won. I hadn't even lived there in my hometown for 12 years. And I moved back into town and said, make me your sheriff. And they did, miraculously. And I was reelected in 1992. And then 93, I saw Bill Clinton sign the Brady Bill into law. He used his left hand and used 13 pens for some reason. I don't remember why. But he promised us that the Brady Bill would make us so safe in America that even our nation's police officers wouldn't need to carry guns anymore. Is that Bill Clinton or what? It's very Clinton-esque. And what I've always liked about the Clintons, they're very entertaining. But that's it. That's where it ends. And so I called I didn't know where to go when I'm going to sue. And so my undersheriff came in the room. And remember, I'm not even a member of the NRA. My undersheriff was a life member. And I said, hey, Mike, you're a member of the NRA. Do they have like a toll-free number where you can call and get advice? And he gave me his card, and there was a toll-free number on it. And I called it. And I reached finally, after being put on hold and passed around, I got in the office of Richard Gardner. And he was a lawyer for the NRA. And I told him who I was and what I wanted to do. And the next line out of his mouth changed my life forever. And he said, Sheriff, we've been praying that you would call. We've been preparing the paperwork on this case, but we don't have a complainant. We don't have a claimant. I said, now you do. And so we went forward from there, and the very day the Brady Bill took effect, February 28, 1994, my lawyer, along with the NRA lawyers, filed in federal district court in Tucson, Arizona, Mack versus U.S. And of course, that's the Clintons. Now, Kevin stole my joke about I sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it. So I'm going to tell you my other one, okay? My other one is, I'm the only person in history to sue Bill Clinton on a non-sexual matter. Okay, we got to get off that golf thing here so we can get back to work. But just so you know too, we're doing a membership drive while we're part of this, and I've got to tell you, thanks to Keith Law and CDA for having me here tonight. Greg, thank you. They're the ones that, I'm from Arizona. It took money to get me out here, and obviously I'm going to be staying in a few hotels while I'm doing this 5-day tour in Florida. And it gets awfully hot in here. I don't know. I'm from Arizona all my life, pretty much. And but the humidity still in Arizona, it's a dry heat. Don't forget that. It's a dry heat. I can't believe I grew up in that dry heat sometimes, you know. But Patrick Hubert, thank you for becoming a life member. And thank you very much. And, all of you though, you can become a life member or just become a member for 1 year is $50. And you're joining a group that you're going to be seeing what we really do tonight. But we get sheriffs and peace officers all across the country to do one thing. Put the Constitution first. Put liberty first. And I'm going to show, as soon as this gets back up and running, I guess I let it go to sleep. Sorry about that. But I'm going to show you examples of sheriffs and peace officers who have put the Constitution first. For instance, I told you I would not enforce gun control laws in my county. And so that was one of the reasons why I sued the federal government. They're trying to have me do all these background checks and all this other stupid stuff on people in my county. And you're right, I would not even do background checks. And you want me to tell you the problem with background checks? Do you really support a government that comes and tells you, if you don't submit to our criminal background check, if you do not subject yourself to our history check on you, you can't have your Second Amendment rights. I'm sorry, I don't go along with that. And there's some gun organizations that say, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and do background checks. So why? I'm a free American, I'm not a criminal, and I'm not going through your cattle chute so you can maybe find somebody. Background checks have not worked. Brady Bill background checks, we didn't win on that part. Brady Bill background checks have been in place since 1994. Some states were doing them before then. Have they made us safer? Have they worked? Have they kept guns away from even felons? It's ridiculous. And so all of us law-abiding citizens, like we have said all along, gun control only affects the law-abiding citizen. Okay? So let's not play their game and subject ourselves to that enslaving mentality that we do what they say, and then they will allow us and grant us our right to keep and bear arms that the Founding Fathers said was part of the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights, I've always said in my classes, is a list of the untouchables. You remember that TV show, Elliot Ness? It's a list of the untouchables for government. Government can't touch. You know when I swear an oath to protect and defend the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? It's not against the gangs in Los Angeles or New York. It's not even against ISIS or other terrorist groups. It's against government. Government's the one that attacks those rights. ISIS isn't taking my guns away. I'm sure they would like to, you know, including my life, but no. That's why I keep and bear arms. And so we even tell people, even citizens, maybe you want to, with the way things are going out there, you might want to have a ballistic vest. And we sell those on our website too, CSPOA.org. Well, we ask everybody to become a member tonight in the CSPOA. And I think I'll give you a pretty good idea of what we do. You know, real quickly, We had in Elkhart County, Indiana, a sheriff who stood against the FDA and threatened to arrest the FDA in his county. You know why? Because they came in harassing an Amish farmer because the Amish don't do this horrible crime called, we don't pasteurize our milk. And they're going to put him in jail for that. Serious. And so Sheriff Brad Rogers goes to the Amish farmer, and he already, very Amish-like, was passive and told the FDA they want to come in. Go ahead. They tested his milk, took it to a lab, did everything they could for 5 weeks, went in, blah, 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 bugging this guy. Finally, he called the sheriff and says, I'm tired of this. I've done everything they've asked me to do, and they still want to put me in jail for not pasteurizing his milk, leaving it in God's nature's form, you know. And so Rogers told the FDA, if you come to my county again without due process, without probable cause, and duly signed warrants, I'll arrest you for trespassing. That's the type of sheriff we want. I'm sorry. The FDA is the one causing the problem, not Sheriff Rogers. Leave people alone. You know what that means? Freedom. America. Okay? So this I'm going to show you first what we're really after. This is what the CSPOA is after, and wrong one. Okay. There's the CSPOA, and that's what it stands for, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. This is the education that we gave them, and Sheriff Brad Rogers in Indiana was the first one in the country to have our constitutional training, just like it says up here. Now this is what we're after, and this news story kind of is very self-explanatory, and this is Deputy Sheriff who got the CSPOA Sheriff of the Year in 2013, and you're going to see why.
The YouTube video going viral, posted on the internet by two activists who brought a camera into the Albany International Airport while they passed out flyers. Now, it led to a heated dispute over First Amendment rights. Beth Wortman has our top story. Beth?
Hi, Benita. Well, as you'll see in the video clip, an airport spokesman tries to stop these activists from their mission, but a sheriff's deputy steps in to settle the confrontation and the right to free speech.
And so, hey everyone, this is Ashley Jessica. I am here at Albany International Airport.
The young woman is standing outside the security checkpoint at the airport, telling the camera that she's there to hand out flyers to travelers, reminding them of their right to opt out of getting the body scan, which she claims carries health risks.
Okay. On your website.
Hold on. First of all, turn this off right away.
Airport spokesman Doug Myers tells the crew to stop videotaping and to go downstairs, which they agree to do, and they are confronted again.
Do you have $1 million insurance policy here? You're violating the airport authority guidelines. That doesn't matter to us at all. Okay, so you can check that out. No, you're in our airport.
But as the tension builds, Sheriff's Deputy Stan Lennox steps in, separating the two parties, then lays down the law.
Obviously, this is your constitutional right, okay? As far as we're concerned.
A deputy sheriff saying this is your constitutional right. Yeah. He was asked to arrest the people and get rid of them. He says no. In fact, they want his identification. Look what the deputy says.
Sir, you're not breaking any laws, okay? That's what we want to get across to you guys.
Myers objects, ordering airport employees to allow only ticketed passengers upstairs, accusing the activists of blocking the escalator. But once again, Deputy Lennox defends their First Amendment rights.
We don't know who you are.
I told you I am. I'm Jason Burns.
Let me see your identification.
I don't need to show you my
That's the thing, he doesn't have to show you his identification.
The activists continue their mission. The video later posted to YouTube and goes viral. Not the kind of attention Deputy Lennox is used to.
That's a little overwhelming. I mean, I was doing my job. I did the right thing. I felt I did the right thing, you know, protecting people's First Amendment rights.
If they come for your guns, do you want that deputy there? Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sheriffs and peace officers should know that their duty to enforce the Constitution supersedes all other regulations. All of them. Can you tell me one law that supersedes the Constitution?
Amen.
God's law. That is correct. That's the only one. And most of these rights as designed and described and detailed in the Constitution and Bill of Rights are God's laws. It's just a continuation. And so we promise, and Article 6 of the Constitution actually requires every public official to swear allegiance to the Constitution. Not to politicians, not to the president, not to Congress, but to the people and to the Constitution itself. Thereby, those principles that we fought the Revolutionary War to establish in this country are safeguarded forever. Okay? Now this one, I'm going to just show a part of it, but this is exactly the opposite of what we are after.
Now to a News 10 exclusive. A Stockton man wants an apology tonight for a wake-up call he should have never received. It is a story you'll only see on News 10. Lee Painter tells us why police and federal agents knocked down his door.
This is what they did to my door.
At 6 this morning, a SWAT team surprised Kenneth Wright at his front door.
In my underwear. In my underwear. Before I get to the door, I hear him say, hit it. And I get ready to hit the door, and they hit the door. They almost hit me. So I said, hold on. They hit it again. I said, hold on.
But the SWAT team busted in, taking Wright.
They come grab me by my neck and drag me out my house to right there in the grass.
Thrown to the ground and handcuffed, law enforcement then searched his house.
And they put me in the backseat of a police car for over 6 hours. From 6 o'clock to 12:30. They had me handcuffed in the back of a police car with nothing on but my ripped up underwear that they ripped in the yard.
Wright says they also woke his 3 children, holding them for 2 hours. But they failed to find their quarry, Wright's estranged wife. Wright later complained to Stockton's mayor and police, but the city pointed to the U.S. Department of Education.
They said, you...
Did you hear that? SWAT team for the United States Department of Education. And you know why they were going after his wife who didn't even live there anymore? Because she hadn't paid her student loan. My dear friends, where's the NAACP on this one? Where's Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson complaining about this kind of police behavior from the federal government? Do you know why? Because Barack Obama's in charge of this. And this is what we call crazy insanity that Stockton Police Department went along with it, and we say, no, we don't allow that in my county. We don't allow you to come in and do a SWAT team raid on a guy and his children who's there in his underwear because she has... Wouldn't you love to have a collection agency like that? Holy moly. You owe me $50. My SWAT team's coming after you. You know what? They have ways, and they have to go just like you and me. If you have a civil problem, you have to go through the courts and do that the right way. This is absolutely horrendous insanity. So, let's keep going here. Now, we believe this. We totally believe this. In fact, people think that I said this, but this is not me. There are 2 types of laws, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only legal, but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I totally believe that. I've done it before. You know, one of them that I violated in numerous places, like Madison, Wisconsin, at the state capitol, I actually went there and drank raw milk on the state capitol steps with an Amish farmer who was also being attacked and one of his customers. And the Amish farmer's 9 kids. And we're all there drinking raw milk, and I thought, oh man, they're going to come and arrest me like I'm drinking cocaine or something, you know. And so now I've actually drunk raw milk in about 7 different states doing this kind of personal protest. And I tell sheriffs and cops, don't enforce such stupid laws. In fact, did you know that the essence of tyranny is the enforcement of stupid laws? We just saw an example of that with that stupid SWAT team from the Department of Education. That should scare you quite a bit. And so we drank that, you know, and the funny thing of it is, I've done that in 7 states now, including Kentucky, in front of the Sheriff's Association, where I spoke at their banquet one year. And I hate milk. But I keep drinking all this raw milk, and I will tell you that cold raw milk goes down better than store-bought milk. Yeah. But look who said this. It was Martin Luther King. He's the one that said this. And why do I make sure that that's in my presentation? Because the other side totally agrees with this, and this is where we meet. We don't enforce stupid laws no matter where they are, and especially those that violate the untouchable list known as the Bill of Rights. And you know that the federal government and some other governments sometimes will actually create free speech zones, and they actually build a corral. They say, you want to protest? You want to protest? Good, you have to do it inside the corral. You know what? They don't understand this thing about my boots. You see, those are nice boots, huh? And they're 10 years old. I really take care of them. But those are my old sheriff boots and everything, okay, you know what? And my mouth goes wherever those boots go. My wife says I stick it in my mouth far too often, but that's, you know what? That's still my prerogative. And free speech is not up to the government. They want to do the same with our guns. They'll tell us how to keep and bear arms. They'll tell us how much ammunition we can have. They'll tell us how many guns we can have or what kind. No, you won't, because I'm a free citizen and that's my choice, okay? And so now they want to put us in these free speech zones and all this. I'm not going to obey that. They want to haul me off to jail? Well, they haven't hauled me off for drinking milk yet, but maybe they will one of these times, but I'm not going to do it, okay? Now, this is the oath of office, and all of us in law enforcement, veterans have done this, and I so admire the people who have made us safe, and I so am disgusted with our government that still does not take proper care of our veterans. I think that's a national tragedy, and that's why I really support CVA, and you should as well also. I just want to play this clip real quick. This is from the movie Clear and Present Danger, and I can't believe that it took Hollywood to bring this point to light.
You know what you think about when you're lying here? You know you're going to die. You think it's all right. You lived a long time. You had a family that loved you. You had a job that you thought made a difference, that you thought was honorable. And then you see this. I'm afraid if I dig any deeper, it's going to like what I find. You took an oath. If you recall, when you first came to work for me, and helped me to the National Security Advisor of the United States, and you take his boss, and I don't mean the president, he gave you word to his boss. He gave you word to the people of the United States. Your word is who you are.
I honestly believe that when our cops start setting, our nation's police and sheriffs start setting the example of following the Constitution, that these other problems that we're having are going to go away. And that the community will start respecting us a lot more. And there will be a renewed relationship between us and the community. Now, there's always going to be problems, there always has been. I'm a former undercover narcotics officer, patrol sergeant, patrol officer, school resource officer, juvenile crime specialist. You know, I investigated child abuse, and I was a specialist on that. And I've still got the scars from looking at children who've been abused by their own parents. I'll tell you what, though, it's a tough job, and I'm totally on the side of law enforcement. But they have got to be on our side. They have got to be on the side of freedom. They've got to keep their oath of office. And freedom and the Constitution have got to be first in the implementation of their jobs. And I believe we're going to see a real fantastic renewal of our trust and faith in our nation's police when we do that. And that's what we dedicate ourselves to full time. And that's what I do full time. And we're asking you guys to join us in that holy cause. Yes, any citizen can become a member. We need you. This is part of it. We're not going to restore freedom if we don't have we the people as part of this. And that's what the CSPOA is. Sheriffs and police working with the community. You've got to be involved in that process. There's not enough of us to do this. You've got to get part of it. You've got to get up to the plate. You've got to be a part of this. And so when you join today, it's $50 for one member, or you do a life membership. When you do a life membership, you get everything free. My book, Are You a David? And I am my own author. I write all my own stuff. Okay? The county sheriff, America's Last Hope, that started this whole movement in 2009 when that book came out. And I love this title. The Magic of Gun Control. Don't you love that title? I mean, should I say it like this? The Magic of Gun Control. And people have looked, I said, people have said, you mean you support gun control? I said, obviously you don't know who you're talking to. But no, it's a satirical or sarcastic title. Because if gun control did anything positive or beneficial, it would have to be magic. Because it never has. Never has in world history. And you know that we are implementing the exact policies and using the exact same rhetoric and propaganda scheme that Adolf Hitler used? Yeah. Almost word for word. And yet our politicians today get away with it because they're convincing us that, oh, it'll work now. It'll work in America where it's against the law. And so, yeah. And then if any of you watch Fox News, and if you've ever heard of Sheriff Clark from Milwaukee, well, this video has Sheriff Clark on it because he was our 2013 CSPOA Sheriff of the Year. And he's in this along with So we have a lot of these. You can purchase them. If you do the $50 membership, then you can get a great discount. But if you become a life member, get all this free and a t-shirt and a CSPOA badge that says CSPOA. It looks like the real thing, but you get the wallet and badge. So do it. It's good to have. That's some of the best identification you can have anyway. So, but we'll send all that to you. And let's keep going here. Article 6 of the Constitution requires everybody in government to swear that oath. Did you know that? The Founding Fathers put it in the Constitution that you have to swear that oath. Isn't it wonderful that we don't have to keep it? No. The founders had faith in us that we would keep that. That would perpetuate the Constitution forever and thus protect God-given liberty. State nullification, is that something I made up? Jefferson and Madison did. And they said when John Adams came out in support of the Alien Sedition Act, he said, we don't need to make any federal laws to counter it. We don't need to campaign against it. The states can nullify it. And that's the resolution, the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions that those two great men wrote. They argued that the states should refuse to enforce laws which they deemed unconstitutional. If any of you think that the ultimate authority on constitutionality is the United States Supreme Court, you're wrong. The states are there to defend it. In fact, what we called this entire seminar was a quote from James Madison, erecting the barriers. And James Madison said, we can safely rely on the disposition of state legislatures to erect barriers against the encroachments of the federal government. That's why we did that seminar, and that's why we called it that. Let me reiterate something right now. We do not believe in violence of any kind. None. We already fought the war. Revolutionary War is over. We won. And freedom was the result. And we have allowed it, we have gone to sleep, and we have allowed it to be on its deathbed. America is on its deathbed. Why do I know that? Because its lifeblood, its constitution, its foundation is all but gone. And we can resuscitate that constitution. But it's going to take some serious CPR, constitutional principled resuscitation. And we've got to get moving on that. And I don't think we have a lot of time left either. But we better get moving. And that's why we work with groups like CVA and Keith Law's group and constitutional sheriffs. And we work with these groups, and we have a very close relationship with them. And you need to join and support all the groups that are doing that. And I'm sorry to say, especially in Washington, D.C., it's not the Democrats or Republicans. Way not the Democrats. You know what? I've not been invited to one Democrat meeting so far in the last 8 years that I've been doing this. I've been to all sorts of Republican meetings. I've been to 135 Tea Party rallies. I don't think anybody's spoken at more Tea Party rallies than I have. Okay? But you know what? The Democrats just don't want me around for some reason. And Madison used the word interpose. That it's our job. Look what it says. The state legislature is duty-bound to interpose its power to prevent the federal government from victimizing its people. You know what interpose means? Put yourself in the way. It's like basketball. I used to play basketball. And so if the bad guy's here, I'm here. And I'm defending you, my citizen, against them. And I don't hurt them, I just keep getting in the way, every time. Wouldn't you love it if the IRS always had a sheriff there going, sorry, you're not coming in here anymore. And they try to move around, and they move, I move. They move, I move. Somebody comes in to take your guns, I'm right there. Interpose, interpose, interpose. That's my job, to interpose. Now these are the two sheriffs that ended up at the Supreme Court. Jay Prince from Montana, yours truly from Arizona. We beat the federal government in the United States Supreme Court. That's the actual copy of the document where that headline. And this is actually what it says. This is one of the quotes from that decision. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. Guess who wrote this decision? He just died. Scalia. That's right. So, and the first judge in my case was shot and killed at the assassination attempt in Arizona, in Tucson. Judge John M. Roll was killed there, and he was the judge who ruled big time on this case. Look what he said. Mack is thus forced to choose between keeping his oath or obeying the law, subjecting himself to possible sanctions. That's the part he's referring to, is that we were subject to arrest if we didn't go along. Okay? So, and I'm going to keep going through this. Look, you want to know what the CLEO is? What's a CLEO? Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Thank you, officer. And this is one time you'll see where the sheriffs were called CLEOs by the federal government. Don't you love it when they finally get something right? Yeah. And that's the threat of arrest. That was it right there. Okay? And just so you know, I don't make that up, but all of this is in the little booklet, and you should get 5 or 6 of these to pass around. And we're going to keep going through this until we get to some other neat stuff about Jennifer Long, who testified as an IRS agent about all the crimes that the IRS commits. This is the U.S. drug agents, DEA agents involved in sex parties in Colombia. And guess who provided the prostitutes? The cartels that they're fighting. Yeah, it's all right there. For years, Drug Enforcement Administration agents posted in Colombia engaged in sex parties involving prostitutes. Well, who were supplied by the local drug cartels. And your sheriff's going to allow the IRS and DEA and all these other criminals just to come in there and do whatever they want? And you're never even going to check on them? And the FDA and EPA and everybody else can just come in and confiscate property and do whatever they want? Why? Why would you do that? Okay, right here. Look at what Scalia says. That residual state sovereignty was also implicit, of course, in the Constitution's conferral upon Congress of not all governmental powers, but only discrete enumerated ones. So that's a big thing right there. This is monumental to what he's saying. Federal government doesn't get to do everything, but what kind of powers do they have? Only discrete enumerated ones, which implication was rendered express, which means absolute, by doing what? Asserting the 10th Amendment. And he quotes the 10th Amendment. We did this. The NRA did this with me. Not on the Second Amendment. The 10th. We protect all the others through state sovereignty. Wow.
How many people voted against you on the Supreme
This was a 5-4 split.
See, that's the problem.
I know. We barely made it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. You got a very good point there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real issue.
And we were really worried about...
Real issue.
We were worried about Kennedy and Senator Dale Cox.
I see Democrats, and then I see the Republicans.
And guess what?
For Trump, and they think that's okay. That's
all 4 Democrats voted against me on this, and all 5 Republicans voted with me. And that's, yeah, exactly. They play politics with our freedom. So I'm going to skip down because we've got to go, and I'm going to go right to the heart of what we are doing. That was Judge Roll again, and badge versus the badge. Now, I didn't make this up either. I don't write for Range Magazine. This was an article in Range Magazine in 2003. And it talks about 3 sheriffs. And 2 of them I've never even met or heard of. But Sheriff Jones I have, and I've met him and talked about this. Sheriff Gary Amon from Owe County, Idaho. made it clear that he didn't want BLM help with local law enforcement, warned that he expected to be notified of any federal investigation or enforcement action, including impoundment of cattle the feds consider to be trespassing. Yeah, you gotta watch those trespassing cows.
Yeah.
And so this is something that's been going on since a long time, not just since 2003, not just the Bundy situation about a year and a half ago. No, a long time that they've been going after cattle. And then even in California, the sheriff does this in San Bernardino. Now, he's not the sheriff now. There's two sheriffs since he was sheriff. He simply revoked local law enforcement authority from federal government across all 20,000 square miles of his county and advised them to consult him first before taking any action on private property. Every sheriff should tell the federal government, do not come in my county unless you check with me first. What's that? Checks and balances. That's what the Constitution is. We're not trying to hurt anybody. Quite the contrary. We're protecting. And this is the one I know, Sheriff Jones. What they really want is to extend federal authority over all law enforcement in the United States, whether local people agree with it or not, says Jones. Well, it's not in this county. And that's what we want local sheriffs to tell the federal government. There's a few things you're not going to do anymore in my county. That's not going to happen in my county anymore. And you want to go and cry to the press and to the people, that's fine. They want to elect somebody else because I won't go along with you guys and let you do whatever you want in my county, fine. But there's a few things I'm not going to allow as long as I'm sheriff. And I could tell you story after story where that's been going on now in America. The Army Corps of Engineers wouldn't let us fix the bridge when I was sheriff. And I was already suing the federal government. So when they came in and made a big to-do about it, not letting us, the county commissioners voted unanimously to fix the bridge against their wishes. And they said, we're going to arrest all of the county commissioners and all the maintenance crew. And I said, you're going to arrest people in my county without checking with me? I said, I'll arrest you before you even get to the site. And I said, maybe the county attorney will release you, but I'll arrest you on Friday. You won't get out till Monday. You know? And so, guess what? We fixed the bridge. They left town. We didn't pay any fines. Nobody went to jail. And you know what? I thought that's what our job was. And so, keeping the peace, even against the government. So, totally astonishing. Badge versus the badge. That's just come to that. We didn't create this problem. They did. They want to go after our cattle. They want to go after our land. They want to go after our guns. And we should find the heroes. We should find the sheriffs of this country standing firm on the principles that America was founded upon. Standing with veterans, standing with citizens, standing with patriots. It's okay to be patriotic. It's okay to be radical. What did Barry Goldwater say about this extremism and radical thing when he was running for president? They went, oh, he's a hawk. Oh, he's radical. Oh, he's extremist. What did he say? He said this: extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. And if you look me up, you'll see all sorts of things that the press and some other groups have said about me, that I'm just this horrible, bigot, racist, terrorist, whatever. And yet in 20 years of law enforcement, I never even hurt or slugged or slapped or hit another human being. I'm the most peaceful, passive guy you've ever met in your life. However, when it comes to freedom, there's a few lines I'm going to draw. And that's what we teach our sheriffs and our peace officers in this country. It's time to draw a line. It's time to stand for freedom. It's time to put the oath first. It's time to put the Constitution back where it belongs. This is the free law of the land. We're going to take America back. We're going to. And you know, it really doesn't matter who you vote for in Washington. It matters who you vote for here. Make sure you vet your sheriff candidates. Ask them right now, the next meeting that they have, in another debate or situation, ask your current sheriff, are you running for re-election? Are you a constitutional sheriff? Ask the candidates running, are you and will you be a constitutional sheriff? Prove it. I want to know. Are you a member of the CSPOA? Have you read Sheriff Mack's book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope? Have you read it? You can't ask him to read something you haven't read. You need to know what your sheriff's supposed to know. And I've got the books back here. Get one for you and him. fill out those membership forms so that we can do this quickly, because time is kind of the essence. I think we need to be out of here in about 10 minutes. But I just want to thank you so much for having me. I want to thank you for being here. I wish we had time for question and answer. I'll stay here as long as we can. But I'm going to tell you right now, we can win this. We can win it. And it starts right here in your county. I love Florida. Thanks for having me. And yes, school board member.
I want to ask about the boy Finicum and the group out there.
That's a long story. I'm very close with the Lavoie Finicum family. I've got Jeanette Finicum on my phone here. I'm going to a meeting with them in Colorado. We're trying to meet with the new sheriff in her county. The old sheriff didn't run. We were trying to talk to him at the time this happened, but he wouldn't meet with us. He refused to be a constitutional sheriff, and now she's going to do what her husband was getting in trouble for. She's going to put the cows back on the land where they said she couldn't, and she's announced that as being October 10th. I'm trying to meet with the new sheriff to get her some protection.
Does everybody know who the boy Finicum is?
Yeah, he was the one killed in Burns, Oregon. So,
Some of them didn't know.
and so yeah, everybody should know. You're right, but there's still some that don't. But anyway, I'm sorry I can't take any more questions. We got to move. But become a member of CSPOA before you leave today. We take check, gold, silver, or credit card back over here. And thanks again. Yes, sir.